Bandai released 3 audio dramas that were distributed during the first 3 weeks of Digimon Adventure to the Beginning theater run, which was October 27th to November 16th, so immediately after it was released in Japan, featuring short stories with the movie's characters. Thanks to Kazari over at the Digilab, seeing a link to her website and these dramas in the description below, we have a translation of what was said in these dramas. For those of you who didn't know about these, let's dive into what these are. So they're short little stories, and are they any good? Do they actually tell us anything new? Let's find out together. So, the first one that was released, I will be using mostly the English names because that is mostly what I know, is Davis's First Step. The Motomiya Noodle Shop opens for business. So, as we know, Davis wants to open his ramen shop. So it starts with him and V-mon making a new ramen together. But Davis knows nothing about starting a business. So they go to all the others for help. First, we talk to Kari, Gatomon, TK, and Patamon. They discuss just how much yen he will need to get his business off the ground. While Patamon is still naive and knows little, Gatomon actually seems to know quite a bit about it. Talking about hiring costs, travel costs, advertising, and even talking about borrowing money from Easy, who is a company president, for those of you who don't remember this. So she's really getting into it. Out of a supposed 10 million yen that they estimate that he will need to start a business, which for us in America is about $68,000. He needs about that much to start the business. But right now, he only has 2,530 yen, which is roughly $17. So when they ask him, though it comes up that he has recently spent 150,000 yen, or nearly $1,000, on a sashimi knife for such a restaurant. So he's already made some of the required investments up front. Next, we move on to all the other members of the O2 cast, still talking about mostly the same thing. Conan brings up, to make money, that he can offer a service to bring things across the world using the D3 and the digital gates. Just have to worry about customs. Yeah, I'm sure the company's just having foreign items and people suddenly teleported in the middle of their society. Wouldn't be any issues, right? No events in this universe might, make people hesitant to trust anything related to Digimon, especially when it seems possibly nefarious or sudden. No, I'm sure nothing there would happen. But Yuli says not to worry. She already knows all about that stuff because she goes around everywhere and can help him out with that. And then where Ken's advice is bring up registering for a restaurant, all the fire regulations that he has to deal with, and insurance and everything about that. Of course, this being Davis, he has absolutely no clue about any of this stuff either, so they all tell him to get lost. Talking with V-mon back at the ramen shop, the boss of the shop happens to overhear them talking about it, as V-mon just brings up that can't they just take over this shop. So instead of giving the shop, as V-mon seems to be talking about, he agrees to give Davis 1 day a week to run the shop, when normally, in the past, it's been closed. So he can gain this experience, and starts paying for utilities, and starts getting used to all that. I do not know, personally, if this is the shop that they enter into in the beginning of the O2 movie or not. All in all, this first one's fairly cute. It plays up Davis getting an idea into his head and being stubborn as always to see it through, even if he has no idea what he has to do to achieve it. For those of you confused by the name, like I was, it's just Davis's last name is what he names his shop after. Though it does certainly bring up the issue that if there are thousands of Digidestined around the world, if not even more, with D3s, it is, first of all, incredibly easy for many of them to respond to any threat. Though, to be fair, I did check. In the final episode of O2, not the epilogue, it looks like everyone has original Digivices, not D3s, outside of our main cast. Second, how have none of them responded to a Digi-Egg over Tokyo Tower for multiple weeks? I won't go too deep into the new movie here, but some countries still haven't gotten to see it. Our second audio drama is an SOS to Our Brothers, TK and Kari's Secret Mission? Now, this one, in and of itself, will contain some minor spoilers about Digimon Adventure O2 The Beginning. This one only features half of the O2 cast. Kari, TK, Ken, and their partners go out to a restaurant and order some drinks. And personally, I know it's weird for me to see all the humans and Digimon ordering alcohol, but I mean, the humans have grown up, they're of age. These are a lot of child/rookie Digimon. Does that make them underaged? This is a whole nother can of worms. Especially with Wormmon involved. I'm thinking about this way too much, aren't I? But telling Ken that TK and Kari were doing while they were just standing around after they yeeted Louie into the big Ukamon, they say that they contacted Ty and Matt. Oh, okay, we're involving the originals now. This could get very interesting. So as we know, Ty works in a digital world-related department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This has been established before. Where apparently it is discovered that he found out that the Japanese, American, and German governments were working together to create an anti-Digimon missile known as Atom, made to not target organic material but data instead. This is being developed because of the Eosmon incident and other Digimon attacks that they've encountered. I'm sure would trigger this as well. They've shown that militaries could barely scratch most Digimon in the past. Ty then contacted Matt, and together they discovered where the missile was being held. While they contacted Izzy, who immediately started working on a shield that could contain such a weapon. Ty was able to find Mimi, who was just passing by, and got her to leave a tip with the FBI to bring pressure down to stop the missile launch. When Ty spoke to the Prime Minister, he relented and called off the attack. Someone within the Defense Force launched the missile anyway. Ty and Matt took an F-16 with the shield in tow and headed for Tokyo Tower to stop the missile. That was hit by a tentacle, but they deployed the shield and saved Ukamon. And I'm assuming themselves, not that it's mentioned, is they don't have their partners anymore to save them. And it even goes into they tried to contact Sora, but of course she was no help and told them to pursue their own paths. What have they done to you, Sora? Why are you so unlikable now? You were always there. You're filled with love. You care. You go and help people. What the... I'm composed. Joe, they didn't bother to try and contact because he is too busy. But it turns out he was free. Now he's upset they didn't call him sooner for help. Finally, it is all revealed that this is all completely made up. None of this actually happened. This entire story is pointless. And it really is a shame, because I would have loved to know more of what the original cast was up to at this time, or how they're coping with the loss of their partners, because that was a really big drop at the end of Last Evolution, and should be a really big drop at the end of this movie too, but we decided that breaking bonds didn't make them disappear. I mean, there was a couple of passing lines they nearly completely forgot that they exist in the movie. Letting Ben know about Cody and Armadillomon only got about 3 lines in the movie, so heaven forbid they try to juggle too much. But at least give us something this way in the audio drama. Don't just make stuff up. Say what Ty was getting into. He was definitely involved, and I can't believe Izzy was just sitting there doing nothing. This one was so close to something awesome, but they had to make sure that, in the end, it meant nothing. And our final one is called To Our Future. Once again, this will have some spoilers about Digimon Adventure 02 at the beginning in it. This time starts off with Louie, already in the dark ocean, speaking to his younger self. Oh, okay, yeah, remember the dark ocean? Yeah, it's been around a while, but, he's there now. Because he was in a happy place when we ended the movie, so of course he's here now. But here he sees visions of every one of the O2 cast hating him and blaming him for all the bad things that happened in his past. Ukamon was just a way to get back at his mother. It does seem to confirm that Ukamon did kill his parents. I mean, you assume so from the movie, but I was never quite sure what happened there. Why didn't he go looking for him and just really laying it on him thick over and over and over again through all the different members of the O2 cast, except for Ken and Wormmon? Until Ukamon finally appears and takes all the blame from Louie and puts it on himself. No, I did all of this. It's all my fault. Again, he may have been the villain of the movie that we just watched, but nothing he does is ever malicious intent. He wants to protect Louie and save him. This is still very consistent. Louie tells him not to leave him, that he is the one true friend when he had none. He did want to get back at his parents. I mean, who could really blame him after being beaten and locked out the door in the cold? It was a really bad situation. But in the middle of it all, Ken comes and supports him, saying that he has been here before, which we know he has been to the Dark Ocean before. and so that does make sense. This place may embody his guilt that will never leave Louis, but he can accept it and move on. Louis assures Ukemon that they will always continue on together, and he's suddenly back in the real world, with the gang talking about getting pancakes with salty or sweet toppings. And that's it. So bringing back the Dark Ocean is always a cool idea, but from this interaction, we learned absolutely nothing new about it. Just a place for him to face his guilt and fears and talk to Ukemon, who I think is still in the Digi-Egg since he doesn't speak once we're in the real world again? I mean, someone paid enough attention to remember Ken had a tie to the Dark Ocean at least? So what do I think about these three stories? Well, at least the first one, I suppose, actually has some character growth and involves everyone at least, so honestly, it's probably the best of the three, even though nothing really happens in it. Doesn't really tell me anything that I didn't already know, but at least has some kind of moral and message to it, at least. Where the second one is just upsetting. Shows the promise having the other characters do something, as the movie was already so slow and boring. It shows just how awfully slow and boring that the movie itself actually was. Instead of just complaining the older cast is too busy and jerks now, actually give them something to do, or at least use this as a medium to give them what they were doing. And they still have to say that Sora won't help, and saying some boring line that not even, yes, I'm here if you need me, and all this stuff, and oh, sweet Yggdrasil, what have they done to you, Sora? And all in all, it's a completely made-up story, not even in world, so it is completely pointless. The third one, at least, had some great potential to it, much like the second. The Dark Ocean has been around forever now. See my video diving into what we know about it here. Yet it is still shrouded in so much mystery. Young Louis being an embodiment of guilt lines up with the Dark Ocean feeding off your negative emotions. This makes a lot of sense. Even though we've never quite seen a clone of yourself in there, it's still quite fitting. So, how is Ukemon there? If not with him in the real world, meaning he hasn't hatched yet? I mean, Ukemon's Digimon hatches as a Mega. So we know that he is some really powerful thing. So, I guess that just means because he's powerful, he can do anything and be anywhere. He's just a writer's crutch. Okay, gotcha. I mean, it does confirm that Ukemon killed Louis' parents, which we all assume, but I wasn't 100% sure from what we saw. Yeah, it was a very interesting concept, but we learned nothing new about Louis or Ukemon here to give it any point. They had their reconciliation. They said they would be by each other's side, while they were still inside of Ukemon. If for somehow we hadn't seen that scene in the movie, and now we get to, hear about it, sure. But it was in the movie. This interaction between them has already happened. And those are the first audio dramas I've ever heard from Digimon. Well, I didn't hear them. I read the translation down. Again, in the description below if you want to find the link to it yourself. And it seemed like potential. There's definitely some ways that you could tell really short stories that could tell something. The fact that they are so short, I know it does make it quite difficult to tell any really big story, but any little details that could have helped to flesh out that movie and give it something more interesting to do, or flesh out the old cast from what they're missing now, or explain why bonds breaking didn't make their Digimon disappear. Still not over that. But all in all, harmless little things that I'm really probably reading too much into, and they're just meant to be fun little stories. And I mean, the over-the-top second one is at least fun. It just annoys me that it shows wasted potential. But thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed these. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. And as always, everyone, remember to be awesome. Till the next one, take care. Bye-bye.